surrounding, God, I guess for miles, especially Hafar al-Ban. Behind it is the community, well, the support housing facilities for the people who would run the hospital. You can then see the water tower that's one of the, I think there are 3 towers in the city. Behind the hospital and a little bit in the distance, the white that you see is another workers' community. There were a couple communities here. As we go to our left, you can see the main one. It's called the 5,000-man camp. And then it housed just as many people as its name suggests, and even more. When the project was at its height, they had over 15,000 workers living in the city. They came from the Philippines, Korea, Sri Lanka, India, basically almost any other third world country that you can name.
Ecuador, Pakistan, Thailand, Sri Lanka, yeah.
Oh, by the way, your cameraman today is Mike Tukalescu. Looking at now is the central fountain to the city. We're in what is called the Centrum, and this is the headquarters and the headquarters facilities for running the city. The city consists of what is basically a division-size element. There were supposed to be about 5,000 to 7,000 troops here, 3 brigades worth. That would be commanded by a 2-star general whose office would be in that building straight ahead on the 3rd floor that you see. That is the headquarters building. As the city was built, only 2 brigades were constructed, and we'll show you their facilities later. But this is the center. You can see the main fountain, which would have a spigot that would spray air about 30 to 40 feet in the air, and various smaller jets that will add more water to this. Those squares that look like checkerboards around here will be filled with trees eventually, although that contract has not been let. And the 4 areas just outside the checkerboards will be more streams of water and fountains that will fill these 4 L pools, as they're called. Now, each one of these, from the center of the fountain, you go to each building, and it looks like there's a crack. And what that is a small trickle pool that begins in each one of the 4 buildings at the cardinal points of the central fountain. The first building is the headquarters building that you've seen before. Like I said, it will be the home of a 2-star general commanding this entire, what it is, the forces for the northeastern sector of the country. What you're looking at now is a building we call 6.1, and that has the theater, commissary, and various other retail facilities for the people who live in the city. If you look at the building, it's basically divided into 3 parts, a left-hand, central, and right-hand part. That central part contains a 980-seat theater that could be used from anything from stage or plays to showing a film. If you look at the buildings which surround 6.1, ones with red, green, and as you'll see later, blue windows, that is building 5.7. Those are the enlisted quarters for the people, for the enlisted men, who will run this central part of the city. They are the headquarters battalion. Now, behind the green windowed building is a building that you can't see real well. It kind of drops behind it. Vocational Tech Building, building 5.4. Now in that building they have every sort of technological tool and apparatus that you can imagine for teaching classes to the troops. Behind that on axis is another low, long building with sky. You can see kind of building with the half-circular glass skylights running through it is building 8.1. What this is on the left-hand side as you look at it, there is a gymnasium, and to the right-hand side, an Olympic-sized swimming pool that's 25 meters by 50 meters. The facility is absolutely tremendous, and it would definitely accommodate like a small college in the States. The basketball court has enough stands and seating around it for probably 2,000 to 3,000 people. The swimming pool is a tremendous facility. All right, now, what we're going to do is show you the troop support areas. Areas 9, 10, and what would have been 11. 9 is for the 1st Brigade, and that is the area that you're seeing now that runs from these blue, or the buildings with the blue windows, all the way back through the orange windows, the green windows, and a little more blue on the right-hand side. Now what that is housing, headquarters, and troop facility for a brigade of troops. We're talking 2,000 to 3,000 troops. Behind these buildings, you can see in the distance is a very large, low shed building. And what that is the maintenance shed and the storage facility for all the vehicles that will be used by this brigade. That shed itself covers some 40 acres, extremely large. Now, if you look at the center of this area 9, you will see a mosque. This mosque is typical of all the other mosques that were built on site. It's done in modular construction, just like most of the other buildings here. You could kind of imagine it to be like a tinker toy set that was put together by all the workers. Later on, you'll see the Friday Mosque, which is that small mosque there, magnified about 2 times. Now, if we go to our left a little bit, we'll be moving into Area 10. Area 10 is identical to Area 9 and houses the 2nd Brigade. Once again, Brigade being 2,000 to 3,000 troops. Now, this is the Brigade headquarters and the troop billets for, let's say, for the enlisted people and the non-married people. Later on, we'll show you the housing for the senior enlisted and for the married people on the base here. Once again, you can see another one of the water towers that stores water for the city. Once again, another mosque in the center of the brigade area. And in the distance, another one of those low, long sheds that contains all the vehicles and maintenance areas for the brigade. Now, behind that are the service buildings for the actual operation of the city itself, and that is subcontracted out to another contractor, and it's got the telephone facilities, the maintenance for the various buildings, etc. And once again, you can see other small mosques that dot the landscape. There are about 15 of them in the city itself. Okay, what you're looking at now in the distance is the district compound, and that's where we live. At one time, there were close to 1,000 Corps people living on the compound, about 350 Corps employees. Now, that was just about 2 years ago. Now we're down to about 50 Corps employees and about 120 people in the community. The rest of the buildings have been occupied by various subcontractors, like the one I talked about, who maintains the city. You can see our checkered water towers, and if you look real closely, there's a large brown building that is our gymnasium. In front of that, you can see some fuel storage tanks that would have been used to convert crude oil to usable gasoline and diesel fuel. We are on the main line, or very close to the main line of a pipeline that runs from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean?
It goes all the way to Jordan, to the Mediterranean, yes, and Lebanon.
And it goes through
Syria, I think.
Oh, yeah? Through Hafr al-Batin, which is, like I said, was about 50 kilometers away, but they never...
Jordan, Lebanon. Jordan and Lebanon. It goes to Lebanon, yeah.
It goes to Lebanon?
It goes to the Mediterranean, I know that.
Okay. And they were originally planning to tie into that oil pipeline, and had they done that, that would have been the facility to transform the crude oil into usable diesel fuel.
So go ahead. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Tell them about chilled water plant.
Okay. As you go farther to our left, you can see the chilled water plant in the background. Now, that's the whole facility there. If you look real closely behind that, you can see some metal pipes or poles sticking up in the air, and that's the electrical yard behind there, the switch yard. Now, this is basically the heart that keeps this city running, and it produces. It's the chiller plant for all the cold water that they pump through the city and air is blown over the cold water at each individual building for the air conditioning system. All the electricity is also generated at that switch yard.
That's where the 11 should have been, and right behind here.
Whoops. It's this whole thing, right? Oh, okay, you're right. All right. Once again, we're looking at the chilled water plant, and in front of that would have been Area 11. Now, I showed you before areas 9 and 10, which were for a brigade each. Well, the contract was originally let for 3 brigades, but as I said earlier, they canceled 1 brigade, basically because not only of monetary shortages, but they just don't have the infrastructure in their army yet. It's just not established enough to get enough troops to fill another brigade. So now that is an empty area where all the brigade buildings and headquarters and troop billets would have been. In a while, we'll show you a housing area that was also deleted that would have housed the people to go with the 11th or the 3rd Brigade here.
The track you are seeing there, right, where there's a white building and some equipment, they're building a small stadium. The permanent stadium has not been built and probably won't be built for a while here.
Did you pan to where that would have been?
The permanent stadium would have been to the left of the chilled water plant, about where we're looking now.
That green area?
There's a crane there that works at one of the pump stations for the water. There's a substation right in front of you at the bottom of the screen.
Now the stadium...
And that is the area where the stadium would have been.
The stadium would have been, I guess, a typical football or soccer stadium, seating close to 40,000 people. And next to it would have been a horse track.
On one side and parade ground on the other side. Stables.
Now the pieces for that compound have already been produced and are sitting in a yard. So whenever that contract, if it is eventually let, they'll be able to move right in and start putting it together. Again, you're looking at the headquarters building and the central fountain. What I just showed you to our right were all the enlisted areas in the center. Now you're going to move to our left, and those facilities for the officers, and then the family housing behind them. If we look to our extreme left, we can see a building that we call 4.1, and this is the officers' club and visiting officers' quarters. Now if you look at the end of the building, you get an idea that the central part of this building is basically hollow, and that hollowness extends throughout the length of that building. If you kind of think of a Marriott or fancy hotel back in the States, that's what this thing is. It's got what are basically hotel rooms that flank a 5-story atrium space that will have club facilities down on the lower level, such as eating and games rooms, and then just lounge facilities that go up the side. Now, as we look to the buildings that surround 4.1, we have what we call 4.2, and let's see, that would be east, center, and west. Now, what 4.2 is, is the bachelor officers' quarters, the BOQs, for all the officers for the city. There were 590 individual rooms produced, and as you look at one of the buildings, you can see that each balcony was split in 2, and each half was to be an individual room. Well, they basically will never, well, at least in the foreseeable future, won't have enough officers to fill these, and so they have combined them, and each officer gets basically 2 rooms. So there are 290 BOQs in this complex. It wraps all the way around to our left. I'll show you the end of that in a second. Now behind the BOQs there are some apartments. Now these are enlisted apartments. Now if you can look really closely, it kind of looks like a shanty town. And what you're seeing are pieces of plywood and 2x4s and whatever else these people could find to close in their balconies. Each one of these apartments is designed with a really nice, large, shaded balcony. Well, the Saudis are extremely private people. Most of their residences, you see throughout the kingdom, have walls around them. And they've continued that tradition here. So what we have are these beautiful, nice apartments with this plywood shoved in the balconies. And they're using all sorts of colors. So I guess it kind of helps.
So much for the architectural intent.
Yeah, and kiss that one goodbye. And behind that, again, you can see another one of the mosques that will serve that area. Now, if you continue behind that mosque, you can see what is basically an open field, and it looks to have roads coming into it, but nothing at the end of the road. Now, what this is, our area is, what, 7, 8, 9?
No, 6 and 7 should have been there. 6
and 7, which would have been housing like the type that we'll show you in a second. These were deleted from the project when the 3rd Brigade was deleted. Once again, in the far distance, you can see the 5,000-man camp. Now, we can go there anytime we want, and they have a mall there, and they have a travel agent and a bookstore and a film store and some other things for the workers.
Even a restaurant.
Yeah, even a restaurant. And we can go there and eat and buy things anytime we'd like. And so that and another place are about the only, well, it's the only place where you can buy fresh fruit for about 50 kilometers.
Talk about Area 5.
Okay. Area 5 is, let's see, how would you describe that? That is from the edge of the dirt area that is right in front of those Quonset huts to the right-hand side, and it extends over 1, 2, 3 streets. Now, Area 5 is a typical housing area, and it is apartments, I can't remember, is it junior officer or enlisted?
Enlisted man, both. Junior officer
and enlisted. It's modular construction, and all the apartments that we'll show you were built, they're basically stamped out of the same mold, except they are just a little different sizes for the different ranks. Enlisted members get about 1,800 square foot each, and that does not include 2 courtyards that go with each house. The junior officers get about 2,000 to 2,100 square feet in each one of their apartments, excluding the 2 courtyards. The field grade officers, which we'll show you a little bit in Area 4.
You are looking at Area 4 right now. Behind that building, they were around the mosque.
Yeah, around the mosque, behind what is the girls' school here, you can see other housing. Looks just like the rest, but it is for field grade officers, and it's about, I think it's about 2,600 to 3,000 square feet, and includes garages. You can see the garages if you look real closely.
Not really, not from here.
No? No. Well, anyway, it's got a mosque that services that part of the community, and behind the mosque, once again looking closely, you can see the generals and the senior officers' living quarters. Now, right on axis here, you can see the end quarters. They're all the same size, but the end one is where the 2-star general has his, or that's where he lives, or at least entertains. He lives on our compound. But each one of these houses has about 5,000 square feet to it, so not bad. In front of the mosque, this way, you can see a long, low building with louvered windows, and that's the girls' school, right?
Yes.
That's the girls' school. You can tell it's the girls' school by looking at the wall that surrounds the building.
Well, the boys' school has a wall also, but it was added later, not originally. And there is a soccer field in between them. The boys' school, you cannot really see it. It's hidden by the 4.2 Central, the BOQ Central. Right. The facade is hidden. The boys' school is the white roof that you can see there. Yeah. And then moving closer to the center, once again, where the workers are standing on the roofs there, this is 4.2 Central, the central area of the Bachelor Officers' Quarters. Now, once again, you're looking at 4.1, which is the Officers' Club and Visiting Officers' Quarters. Now, we're panning to our left here,
And what you can see in the foreground is the swimming pool, which is a small swimming pool which will service the officers' club. Moving away from us is the west grouping of the bachelor officers' quarters. These are all these, you can see the, with all the balconies with the orange and red partitions. That's 4.2 west. Behind it, just like on the other side, are enlisted apartments, and behind that, another area, was area, is that 3? 2.
That's area 2.
Okay, area 2, more junior officer and senior enlisted housing areas.
Now, one moment we're going to pan toward the neighborhood centers, which are the schools. They are schools also. They have a high wall around them. You cannot really see much of the structure. But they have small commissary, small clinic, and they have the first 4 grades, or kids go to school there. Okay, go ahead.
Mike, show the difference between the non-planted and the planted.
Oh, yes. Now, in area 1, as you can see, planting was done. And this is an example of how it looks from up to the top of the minaret. However, in the other areas, the planting has not been done yet. And as you can notice here, which is the area 3, the planting is not done behind it, or in front of it if you want. Before, in the background, was the same neighborhood center, the first one. This is the second neighborhood center. There are 3 all told. Built. 1 is deleted.
Okay, no. All right, now, once again, you're looking at that landscaped area we just told you about, and this is area 1, more housing for junior officer and enlisted families, with the flanking neighborhood centers that you can see with the high walls, straight down the middle, the mosque that services this small part of the community. Now, a note about the landscaping for this city. The entire city's sewage flows to a sewage treatment plant that was built to handle the sewage from approximately 50 to 70,000 people. That was the original estimated population for the city. Well, after the water is first treated there, it is sent back out through pipes throughout the city that are existing now to water all the greenery that you see here, and which would cover the rest of the site. Now, if this place ever gets to how it should be, it will look just like this area 1 everywhere, and there will be ground cover like grass, there'll be trees. Once the trees mature, there'll be a lot more shade, and it'll be a very attractive place.
Okay, this is the Friday Mosque you are looking at, and the east-west spine road in the background that continues to the road that goes all the way down to the cemetery.
Okay, now looking down this road, you can remember we showed you at the beginning the road that went out to the main gate. Well, you are 180 degrees away from that right now. This is the sister road on the other side.
There is some repair work being done there now. As you can see, there is a grader moving there to the left.
Now, if you look behind area 1, you can see a collection of Quonset huts. And what this is a staging area for one of the contractors who is working here. Now, a staging area is where people will store, or the contractor will store all his materials, and where he has his shops for doing any extra work that he has to do. Also, his offices are there, and a core office is there also. That staging area is for U1, which is a Korean contractor.
Now, you're looking now, and we are approaching with a zoom, the test house. This first house that sits there lonely, not part of the group of houses, is the test house. It was built to see how all precast units fit together. They haven't demolished it yet. We don't know why, but they like to have it around, even though it's a hazard for the children and doesn't have any plumbing connection or electrical or anything. They were talking about using it as an office for the janitorial people, but they haven't done a thing with it yet.
If you look a little bit to the right, you'll see one of the bridges that connect the outlying areas across what we call Centrum Road and into the center part of the city. The entire city was designed to minimize automobile traffic, or at least the need for it. You can walk from anywhere in the city to another place without really crossing a street. They have bridges that go over the roads. Unfortunately, the Saudis have taken to automobiles like Americans have, and they drive everywhere, and we pretty much are overpopulated now with cars.
Oh, this is the mosque plaza that you're seeing, and the mosque domes. There are 25 of them in 3 tiers, as you notice. And in front, the lattice work, there are grills, there are precast grills erected there. We're going to go down and take some shots from below. The arcades around there, the ablutions, toilets, rest areas, things like that. We will show you from below how the whole thing looks.
Okay, how about engineer school?
Yeah.
Okay, you look out in the distance now and you can see some domes and some conical shapes. And what those are all part of the engineer school. This is going to be the home of the Corps, I guess you would call it the Corps of Engineers for the Saudi Arabian Army, just like Fort Belvoir is in the States for our Corps of Engineers. This is where they will train all their enlisted in their offices. It's an incredible facility, about $120 million worth. It's just beautiful. If you look towards the center of it, you can see a little tower sticking up. The complex surrounds its own mosque, so they don't have to travel anywhere to go to prayer call. If you look in the foreground and to the right a little bit, you can see what is the city commissary. And they also have a general store and car maintenance facilities there. They also have a gas station. Now we can go shopping there, and most of the Saudis go shopping there, and it's one of the few areas that I know of, in fact the only area here, that you can buy fresh milk. Alright, what you're looking at now, past one of the maintenance shelters, past a service area for the engineer school, and in the distance you can see what is the precast plant. Now what this did, or what this area produced, were all the pieces of concrete, the small tinker toy pieces I told you about, that create this entire city. When it was going at full steam, it was the largest precast plant in the entire world, and it cranked out over 1 million pieces of precast concrete, varying in size from anywhere from 100 to about 40 tons.
The largest was about 45 tons. The smallest was about a couple of pounds.
Okay. It also produced all the pavers that you see that I guess paved the entire city. And they produced over 7 million of those pavers. If you look a little bit farther to our left, you can see the towers and the storage areas where the materials for mixing of the cement and of the concrete were kept. All the concrete that was poured in the city was mixed there and shipped or trucked to its place, in place in the city.
Further down past that is the quarry. That road that you see in front goes to the quarry and to the firing ranges past that.
And that's about 25 kilometers away.
And a small correction on the number of pieces. There are about 500,000 precast pieces, and there were over 10 million pavers made.
Brought to you by the director of...
Now, this is a wide-angle lens. It will be a little bit distorted, they say. I don't know exactly. We're going to pan with that to show you how it looks.
Yeah. As you look out, you can see how how evident it is that we're in the middle of nowhere. At the edge of that city, it just drops right off, and you've got desert, there's miles. Once again, looking at the center part of the city, the Centrum. Once again, looking at the Officers Club, enlisted housing, or the officers' quarters behind it, and then the various housing units behind that. It is an air defense battery. The city is ringed by 3 air defense sites. Now, if you can think of this place as a huge stop sign, it's a bomber's paradise. And at night, it's completely lit up, and even during the day, since there's nothing around us, it's pretty easy to pick this place out. So they've got 3 air defense artillery sites that surround the city to protect it against air attack.
It's way in the back on the ridge there.
Here we are back at the mosque. We've just taken you 360 degrees around the city. Show them the plaza. You can get the pavers. Yeah. You can look down and you can see the paving pattern on the plaza level there. That pattern is reproduced throughout the entire city. And those were the 10 million pieces of precast that Mike was talking about. Each one of those placed by hand.
Well, this concludes the panning and the film from the top of the minaret.
You're at 110 feet above King Khalid Military City. You're looking at Roger Holloway now, who was, up until recently, the only architect on site. He's leaving pretty soon. Gives you kind of an idea of the people who are mostly, except for me, responsible for building the Friday Mosque. This is Mr. Bune, who is now the project manager for the entire Centrum project, $340 million worth of liquidated damages. Mr. Saw here is the building manager for building 2.1, the mosque. Mr. Bune is a jack of all trades who basically knows about the entire site. And this is Roger Holloway, who is the architect, who was our only architect here on site, who is now going to the South Carolina district. I'm Lieutenant Tom Anhut, Corps of Engineering.
Hello, Tom. Yeah.
Okay, this is the Friday Mosque. Friday Mosque is the main mosque of the city, and as its name implies, on Fridays, everyone in the city will supposedly come here for at least one of the 5 daily prayers.
Yeah.
What you're looking at now is the mihrab. That faces Mecca, and that is a gold leaf tile that covers that entire half-circular dome, half-spherical dome. At the base of that is the mimbar, at which the imam, who it roughly translates to the priest, will address the community here. Now what you're looking at are the various low, intermediate, and high domes of the Friday Mosque. And hanging from them are chandeliers. Each one of these chandeliers weighs just over a ton. If you look at the base of the mosque, surrounding it, you see what are wood shelves. And what happens here is the Muslims will come in, the Saudis will have their shoes off. You never walk in a mosque with your shoes on unless you're Corps of Engineer construction people. And you put your shoes on the shelf and take a Quran for your prayers. Let me do a little demonstration. The carpeting is striped in here in a certain way on 1.5 meter intervals. And what this basically does is the men will come in here and they will line up on a stripe. And they will have a space in front of them at which they are concentrating. And now I am basically facing Mecca. And during my prayers, I will concentrate on the area of carpet right in front of me. And there will be men lined up in all the rows throughout the building. The facility itself can handle about 1,500 to 2,000 worshipers. Yeah. What you're looking at now is the arcade that surrounds the mosque. Alternating small structures within the arcade are toilets and ablutions. Now the toilet's function is pretty straightforward. The ablution, what you will do is go in, and there are small benches where you will clean your elbows, your hands, and your feet in preparation for coming inside the mosque and praying. These are one set of the main doors that lead into the mosque. Each one of these doors weighs over 1,000 pounds each. You're not taking a picture of this, are you?
Yes, I am.
What you're looking at is one of the most expensive toilets, what we call an Eastern toilet. I think it's pretty obvious how you use that. Although, Roger, could you demonstrate? I'll go now. You guys finish filming. I'm going to check this thing out. Roger, what was your word on this thing? Yeah. All right. All right, well, I'm going to go over there.
Let's go in here and bring the fountain down. What a beautiful fucking place out there you are.
Did you get one shooting up? No. You want to climb up a ways? Huh?
I've done it.
I know you have, but I want to get a picture of you doing it.
But I ain't gonna go off.
Well, could you climb in front of me?
Just for 3 rocks.
Well, you're going to take me for a thing right here? This is how we go up. Out there is the platform that we took the pictures from before.
Behind me, and down below is the central fountain, the arcades all around, and the headquarter building 3.1 in the background. we have shown you up to now the city, how it looked from the top of the Friday Mosque minaret. This is a shot taken of the Friday Mosque from the roof of the mosque in the engineering school. In the background, next to it, you see the water tower, the big water tower, from area that's in front of area, on the side of area 15S. Now we are panning toward the commissary. In the foreground is the roof of another building, building D, in the engineering school. And we are continuing to pan toward area 1. And what you see, the concert house there, that's U1 staging area. Now is the minaret viewed from the roof of the mosque in the engineering school. The minaret, you cannot take a shot from up there because the whole balcony is enclosed with a very fine wire mesh against birds, pigeons, and that prevents shots being taken. The mesh is too fine, you cannot really take pictures from there. Way in the background, past the dome, we are now trying to zoom in on it, is the precast plant, where all the precast elements and the pavers for the city were made. This view doesn't show much. It's taken at roof level. It shows the pyramids and some of the domes at the engineering school. And here on the left you could see the starting of the dome for the Friday Mosque. The Friday Mosque of the engineering school, not the Friday Mosque of a city. This other shot shows the, in the background is the dome over the Building A, the administration building, and the two conical domes are over the covered walkways. What you're looking at is the inside of the minaret in the engineering school. This is one of the different structures here. The whole complex was designed by a different AE. It's not BDA, it's a firm in Reynolds, Hills and Smith in Jacksonville, Florida. And they have come up with a design that's totally different in look from what BDA has. And this was done at the request of the Corps of Engineers. This is a dome that covers the mosque. This is a view from the opposite direction, the one taken before. You can see on the right small entrance that leads inside the minaret, and that is one of the 4 entrances of the mosque, right in front. Now, this is a view of the mosque in the engineering school from the plaza around the mosque. On the left is building D. In the background, there are the buildings. The facade of the mosque, the columns are cast-in-place concrete sandblasted. The parapet panels and the vertical panels are precast. The windows are aluminum frames with plastic insulated pans. We are standing at the edge of the F Plaza covered walkway. This is the conical dome that covers it. In the background, you see the entrance to building H1, and further down is K.